Why? Because of your track record, right? Instead of 80%, you cannot get 85%. Why? Because of your track record. But if your track record ain't good, then you don't deserve it.
Yep.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Investors, entrepreneurs, it's the same path. You got to get good.
Yep. You got to get good.
Yeah.
And then, they incentivize you if you keep getting better.
Right.
They'll increase the profit share. They'll increase the amount of capital you have. Like I have some students with even 7 figures in capital.
Wow.
And some of them have I had a student just recently within 8 weeks of joining our program, got $4.1 million in capital. Wow. And he was never even a trader before that.
Wow.
But
there's so much money out there that investors, as an investor, now that I have some investments, I just want to know that I'm putting money, I will give you money towards something. I want to mitigate my risk. Yep. So I just want to work with people that know what they're doing if I'm going to give you money in this area. That's it. Yep. And so investors, people will give you the money. It's out there, but you have to show it first.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Okay, today I have a very, very special guest. I think after hearing this guy, and he's been here for maybe about 20 or 30 minutes. We've been talking prior to the podcast. I think you guys are going to be really inspired. And I think you're going to realize that, wait a minute, this success thing, maybe it's not a secret, but there's certain things that you have to do that is going to get you to where you want to get to. So, Luke Holmstrom, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Greg, for having me.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you do and kind of your story, because you are not a healthcare professional, but I feel like there are so many things that you have experienced and things that you've gone through that can help healthcare entrepreneurs. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Well, what I do is I help traders. I help traders and everyday people learn how to trade. I'm a coach, like a lot of your audience probably is in the healthcare world. But what I do really is I specialize in just helping people learn how to trade, but then really just providing them with the necessary tools and skill sets they need to actually turn it into a full-time income. So we do that through a couple different ways, teaching them the strategies they need, helping them get access to other people's money, which is a unique way. A lot of people do that in business, real estate. I'm sure people investing in their healthcare, use other people's money in some extent. So we bring traders to other people's money so they can leverage it and really make it a full-time income.
Okay. All right. Because here's what I feel like, just us talking prior to hitting the record button. I feel like there are so many things that you do as a trader in the market that is, especially even your journey, that's so similar for just the traditional entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so I think the first thing I would like, so I'm going to interject you every once in a while because my brain is already racing so much on what you've already, told me. Can you tell people how old you are?
I'm 22.
You're 22 years old. How long have you been doing this?
I've been training for 8 years. So I started 14 years old. So I was back in 2016. It was a pretty interesting period just because, I was getting into trading, but also it was before, the big crypto bull run that really took crypto into the mainstream. So I was kind of on both sides, but yeah, that's about the time that I started.
You were 14 years old. How the hell did you get into this at 14? At 14, I was playing Madden. How did you get into trading at 14?
Yeah, I know a lot of people ask me that, and I think what it really comes down to is there's a lot of series of events that kind of bring you to a period in your before you started doing what you do. You had a couple series of events probably that happened that were totally unrelated, and for me, it was working out, and that's like what really gave me the belief in myself to actually go for trading, go for business, go for all these other things. Is like I remember when I was 13, I started to work out because I was chubbier, get picked on and all that. Mm-hmm. So that was like a big journey in my life where I kind of took something. I went for it. I was consistent for it. Like I didn't have one off day after like a year, I was like, oh, I just did all of this within a year. I remember like the first 3 months I worked out, I lost 40 pounds. Wow. And I was like 13 years old. So that was like the first thing that really got me to believe in myself, believe that, if you just put in consistent effort, you can get to your goal eventually. It's not going to happen overnight. When you work out, you're working out, you're eating good, you look in the mirror, you still got the chub on you, right?
Yeah.
And you do that over and over again for months, and soon enough you'll start to see like the results, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Wow.
And I think that was like a huge part of my entrepreneurial trading journey that kind of like taught me delayed gratification and really helped a lot of other things within my life. I'd say that was probably the start of my whole entire journey of even getting into this.
So at the age of 13, you looking at yourself, you're like, I want to change my body. You start to work out, you start to develop these habits and this discipline. And over the course of months, you losing this weight and you're like, wow, I guess the lesson you learn is if you stick with something long enough, especially if you're doing it the right way, like you will yield some really good results, right?
Yeah.
And so, okay, so that gave you the belief, but how did where did trading come? It's like, how did you find out about it?
So actually I found out about it on a webinar first, which is funny from where the position I am in now.
Wow.
But I got into it from a webinar. I got invited onto it. I came to it, listened to it. Everything was really interesting to me. It was pretty fresh. And that was all right. But, the thing about it is like, it was a company. At the time I had a side hustle where I was reselling clothes, reselling so many different things.
So you've always been a hustler.
Oh, yeah.
You've always been an entrepreneur.
Always.
Okay. All right.
Always.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is like I was selling designer clothes, reselling them. And I noticed the guy in the webinar was wearing 2 pieces of fake clothes.
Okay.
And it just threw me off. I was like, nope. If you can't buy, $1,000 of real clothes, what's this guy going to teach me? What is this company going to teach me? Because truthfully, it was a company. It was like a big MLM inside of the space. So kind of cut me away. I was like, okay, I'll walk away from this. Still interested in trading, but that's not really the place that I would want to learn from.
Right.
And so I did a lot of research, read a lot of books. I used YouTube University as like a huge cornerstone of my life. First starting out, there's a lot of great, resources like Investopedia. Baby Pips was a good one when I first started. So I was reading a lot, researching, studying. But like one of the biggest things that actually helped me get into trading was like the charts are free for everyone. Like, you can get a free charting software everywhere. And at the end of the day, the only way you're going to make money in the markets is if you're in a trend. It has to be in a trend for you to make money, right?
Okay.
So, just look at the charts.
Right.
That was like where I really started to dig in and get really good at trading, was perfecting technical analysis.
Okay.
That was kind of like the starting point, and then kind of where I ended off and really started to propel in trading was just focusing on the technical analysis, finding the things that happen every single day on a regular basis that most people don't see because they're not observant, they're not paying attention. And like you can back test, you can go back on the charts 10, 20, 100 years and see what the market's done. There's no way you can predict the market, tell it, what's going to happen. There's no way you can do that. But you can look back on previous data. That's all we got.
Right.
It's the best tool you have. So that's kind of where I focused on, was looking back at the previous data. And I got really heavy into it, even within high school, the first couple of years of me getting into trading.
So if you had to say, as a trader, if there were 2 to 3 characteristics or skill sets that you need to develop in order to be a great trader, like what would they be? One of them you just said, and you said you have to be observant.
Yep.
Right? Is there 1 or 2 other ones that you would say?
Yeah, you have to be observant. The other one I would say is you have to have delayed gratification.
Okay.
A lot of people don't have delayed gratification, but like it's just like I was saying with working out, with really any business, like you need to put in the work. You got to eat crap for a little bit,
right? And
then you're going to get to the results. So that's huge. And I would also say, just trying to think if there's another one. So you have to have that go-getter attitude. Like you have to always be searching for more.
Right.
You just because it's working, it can always work better.
Right.
I could have quit. I could have quit after the first version of my strategy, but I went in. What else is going on? What else am I missing? And I kept going in. And every time you optimize it, you can boost that in trading a win rate or your risk to reward, and you can keep boosting those metrics and make it more profitable. It's just it's like and you bring that into business even. It's the same thing. You look at your data, and you have to be able to make optimizations and make data-driven decisions.
So can I tell you this? It's the same thing. Those are the same top 3 things for an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
An entrepreneur that's going to make money is the only way you're making money is if you're truly serving people with problems that they want solved, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be extremely observant.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're so good at what you do, or you've spent so much money and time, especially people that go through traditional schooling, they're so focused on what they do that's so great, and they want everybody to just love what it is that they do because they loved it enough to spend all this money doing it, right? But you have to be extremely observant in order to be able to win in the marketplace. I don't care if you're a trader like you, or you're a physical therapist, or you're a registered dietitian, or you're a real estate agent. You have to be so observant, not just what's going on in the market, but you got to be observant with people. Like, what is keeping you up at night?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's number one. You have to be really good at delayed, gratification. You have to be able to like eat poop for a while, knowing that the process is solid. Eventually, I will see results. Like I know when I'm working out and I start working out again, I know that usually that first week, even though I'm working hard and I feel terrible because I'm sore I usually gain weight before I lose weight. I usually don't see any muscle mass increase before I start to see the trend. So you have to have the delayed, gratification. And then you have to optimize.
Yeah.
You have to constantly optimize. And I think most people, they really don't have a desire to be great. They just want to be good. Yeah. Like when I hear people say, hey, so what does the average trader make? Huh? Like, what does the average physical therapist make? Like, I don't want, by the way, they're all doing pretty terrible. I want to be the best. Yep. So the best are constantly optimizing. I kid you not, right before you came here, we just finished 2 3-day events, right? With our clients. Totally different, like, style of events, not like just teaching a bunch of stuff and then you go home, like teaching you. And then I had my staff, my team actually like help them do everything so that their business would grow in 3 days, what it would take them probably 3 to 6 months to do, right? Yep. So it's awesome. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. We've never been to an event like this, da 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 da. And we just spent an hour and 10 minutes in that room talking about all the ways we can optimize it and all the things we did wrong. And I think that's what makes the 1%ers the 1%ers.
Yeah.
So I think what's so interesting is that whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an investor, it's the same crap.
Yeah. And I tell people a lot of times, if you want to be like, you have to treat trading like a business, and it's going to pay you like a business. But if you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby.
Right. Exactly.
And a lot of the characteristics. I mean, trading, it's a one-man sport.
Right.
Like, you can have a team where you lean on people's shoulders, but like your results are your results at the end of the day. It's coming back to you. So. Yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, it's like being a golfer or playing.
I love golf. Yeah,
right.
I'm always like a one man sport. Yeah, working out, golf, trading.
Tennis, yeah,
I like just like that one man sport. Yeah, because like at the end of the day, I rely on myself.
You can't blame it on anybody. Yeah. Wow, I like that. Here, let me ask you something. Do you believe this statement? Because I do, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Because you're now a trader. You're an investor. Mm-hmm. But you're also an entrepreneur. I believe this. I believe that the better investor I become, the better entrepreneur I become. And the better of an entrepreneur I become, the better of an investor I become.
Yep.
You believe that?
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all comes in together.
Yeah, it does. And let me tell you why I believe that. Because at least for me, and I want this to kind of lead into the method of showing investment, what you were telling me that. But I believe that when I'm investing, if I'm going to invest in another business, right? I'm not really investing in the opportunity, because opportunities come and go, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the time when I'm investing at this point, I'm investing in a person. Like, and I've messed up a lot of deals in the past because I was looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at just the trend.
Just the idea.
And not looking at, is this someone that, because we understand in business, some bad things are going to happen. Is this someone that's going to fold the minute something bad happens? Is this a problem solver? Is this person like excited? Are they going to sell people on a vision? So I'm typically looking at that. And I don't think I could, and my investments now that I'm doing with other entities and businesses, I'm not messing up as much. Because, and I only think I could have understood that by me being an entrepreneur, right? Yep. And then as an entrepreneur, I feel like as I become more risk averse, more risk, tolerant, I'm tolerant of the risk. And and willing to invest not just in myself, but invest in others and invest in whether it's software or people or whatnot, I believe I achieve more as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like for those of you listening, you must understand like the characteristics of being a good investor, and you must become a good investor if you're going to succeed as an entrepreneur, even if you're doing the one-man, trading shows. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like, even if you're a one-man show, I mean, you got a lot of other, like, software, other things that you're investing in.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just a one-man show.
Yeah,
There's a lot that goes into it still,
like
right?
You're a golfer, right? When it comes down to it, the performance is you. But you've got coaches, you've got people that help you, you've got your strength training, this, that, so many different things. But when it comes down to it, when the big day happens, when the tournament happens, it's all on you, baby, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
take all the credit.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So can you explain to us your method of how you basically get funded for trading? So understand, this is a healthcare audience that's listening to this, but this is really fascinating what is out there. And look, here's one thing. There's more than healthcare that listens to this podcast. Pretty much everybody that listens to this podcast doesn't want to exclusively trade time for money. Okay. They're used to treating patients all day, all night, and they're trying to find other ways, right? Whether it's going online, this, that, and just to have the time flexibility, the time freedom, the financial freedom, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So with that said, can you explain how you get people started in trading? Explain the whole system that you just explained to me before we started.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, you have to learn how to be a good trader. You have to master the skill sets. So that's really the first thing that we do before we look at helping people get other people's money to really trade with.
Okay.
We have to, prove the results out first. Make sure that you're hitting your KPIs, you're profitable, you're optimized before we go into that stage. So really, what we do is like in trading, there's a few different skill sets that you're going to have to learn. You have to learn how to read the charts. You have to learn about what news is important, how to read the news, how it's going to affect the market and the overall sentiment. You have to go into risk management, trading plan. So there's a lot of different aspects of trading, and my job is to make it as simple as possible. So anyone that, even if you work a full-time job, you have a business, you have something else going on, you can do this for like 1 to 2 hours a day, and it's a super simplified approach.
Okay.
I believe that with trading, you can learn about trading for the rest of your life and you'll never be done.
Right.
So there's only really you want to focus on the Pareto principle, like the 20% that's going to leave you to 80% of the results. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I really have a simplified, narrowed in approach. And what we really do is first of all, you have to learn everything. So I coach people, teach them all the skill sets that they need. But once they're, proving that they are profitable, we'll do some practicing, some practice accounts, practice tests to make sure that they are ready. But once they hit that point of profitability, then we'll go in and work with funding partners. And really how this all started is back in the 80s, there was a thing called proprietary firms that started.
Okay.
And I don't know if you ever heard of the Salomon Brothers. Mm-hmm. They're a huge hedge fund back in the 80s. And they were making so much money for their clients. They were like, if we're making so much money for our clients so consistently, why don't we just use our own money so we can have a majority of the profits instead of a couple percent of the profits,
right.
And we'll be able to pay our traders way more. It's a win-win situation, right?
Gotcha.
But we'll have to take the risk on. But they said, we're comfortable with it. We see all the data. So they actually started out by hiring their internal traders to trade their own personal firm capital.
Okay.
That's kind of how the whole concept started. But obviously back then you used to have to go into a desk, work,
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have that freedom like you do now. So you used to have to go in. It was like another job,
right? Basically.
A lot of people had MBAs, licenses. So, and even you usually had to pay for a chunk of that trading account.
Okay.
If you had, they'll give you a stop loss, let's say, of you can only lose this much on the account. Let's say it was 20 grand. You'd have to put that 20 grand up. So really you were just getting more leverage, but you still had risk component to it.
Right.
Where now everything's all digital, digitalized. And back probably about 12 years ago, the first online company came in and started doing these prop firms online. So they just, online, you sign up for an account. They give you an account to a practice account, which is like a demo fake paper trading, account. And they just want you to prove that you're a profitable trader. So, you have to learn all the skill sets. You have to learn the strategies beforehand. But they just want you to, they just want to see hey, can you make this amount of profit while managing this amount of risk?
Right.
And, once you pass that, you hit the profit target while managing your risk. They'll give you access to credentials. You'll log into it, and you have a funded account of, you can get $100,000 to a couple $100,000 at a time. And then over time, you can scale up into the millions of dollars per firm. But that's usually where they start you out. And then, I started when I had a 70% profit share. Now it's 80, 90% profit share minimum for most people. Key part about this too is there's no loss liability. So it's not like going and getting a loan or, asking a friend or a family member for money. There's no loss liability. Worst case scenario, if you break the rules on that funded account, you can go back through and take the test again, prove to them that you're profitable again. They'll give you another funded account.
Okay.
So, it's really a way to, I think of it as like you're minimizing your risk. You have way more potential. Like, you're trading with a 6 to 7 figure account. You get 80 to 90% of the profit share on it. And then there's no loss liability. So like the risk to reward ratio on this opportunity is like, you have very small amount of risk and
yeah,
you can make a lot of money with it.
So let's break this down. Let's break this down for people. So basically, step number 1 is this. You become good at a skill set.
Yep.
Okay? In this situation, it's getting good at the trading skill set. I want everybody right now, like everybody, I don't care what you're doing. If you're on the toilet, go get a piece of paper, okay? All right, if you're in the car, stop the car, and I want you to listen to what I'm telling you, because this is exactly how it works for your business right now, or for those of you that are aspiring for business, okay? The first thing you must do is you have to get good at the skill set. When you get good at the skill set, people will notice, okay? What Luke just explained to you is that this is a trading skill set. Become good at the trading skill set, learn it first, learn about it, learn how to do it, try to figure out what the system or the process is, and then start doing it, okay? So learn about it, which is what you're doing right now, learn how to do it, okay? And then actually start doing it. And the goal is, as you're doing it, you will never achieve mastery, but the goal is, if you want to be a part of the 1%, you are going to work your way up to at least being at a subconscious level of doing something, meaning that I can do it and not even think about it consciously, okay? That's the goal. Now, once you get there, then what happens is people start to see that you are better than most. When people see that you are better than most, when people's like, oh my gosh, I have no access to money, there's plenty of money to access out there, but you actually have to be good at something for people to want to risk their money to give it to you. So, in what Luke just said, let's talk about trading. So if you can prove that you have done this for someone, and you have done this for like, even though it's fake money or paper money,
Proof of concept.
Yeah, it's just proof of concept. That's it. And by the way, guys, it's the same thing in your business. Like, why would somebody go and invest in you, meaning that they're going to become your patient, okay, or they're going to become your client, if you haven't shown that you've done it for anybody else? Why would we do that? Just because you went and you spent $200,000 on your degree, that's not how it works. So go and prove it first, okay? Prove that you can do it, and then people will invest in you. In this case with Luke, we're talking about investing money, right? And saying, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000. You're going to get 70% of it. If you make profits, we'll take the other 30%, okay? All right? That's fine. But for those of you that are doing business, that's people will invest in you as well. People will pay you money if you actually like have gotten those results. Not just saying, I think I can do this for you, but you actually gotten it for people. Okay, so then now people have invested with us. They're investing with us because of the skill set that we have developed in order to get to the point where people are actually going to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to stop here and listen, okay? So now they're investing in you. Guess what happens if you actually prove results in real time, in the real world, with real life situations? In this case, we're talking, money. Mm-hmm. People, you now have more leverage.
Yep.
So now, instead of getting 70% of the profits, you can now command 80% of the market, right?
Yep.
Okay. Why? Because of your track record, right? Instead of 80%, you can now get 85%. Why? Because of your track record. But if your track record ain't good, then you don't deserve it.
Yep.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Investors, entrepreneurs, it's the same path. You got to get good.
Yep. You got to get good.
Yeah.
And then, they incentivize you if you keep getting better.
Right.
They'll increase the profit share. They'll increase the amount of capital you have. Like I have some students with even 7 figures in capital.
Wow.
And some of them have like, I had a student just recently within 8 weeks of joining our program, got $4.1 million in capital.
Wow.
And he was never even a trader before that.
Wow.
But
there's so much money out there
yeah.
that investors, as an investor, now that I have some investments, I just want to know that I'm putting money, I will give you money towards something. I want to mitigate my risk.
Yep.
So I just want to work with people that know what they're doing if I'm going to give you money in this area. That's it.
Yep.
And so investors, people will give you the money. It's out there, but you have to show it first.
Yep.
It's not, give me the money and then I'll show you. No, show me and then I'll give you the money. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people think it's the other way around, but yeah, it's how it works. You got to prove it, and then you'll be incentivized later on down the road.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about the unconscious confidence too, because you do need to get to that point. And I found that, even with trading, like I can give everyone my specific trading edge.
Mm-hmm.
I really just use like 2 strategies every single day. It's within the first hour and a half of the day.
Right.
Before we hopped on today, like I just traded for an hour and a half today and I was done.
Right.
It's pretty simple, but like I had to get it to that systematic approach.
Right.
Because I had subconscious confidence, but you can't coach people's subconscious confidence.
Right.
You have to pull it all out and then
Yeah.
systematize it so it has a structured plan and everyone can use it. But that's one of the things that we try to do is like just simplify everything. So, and it almost like make it as simple, mechanical as possible so everyone can have as close to that subconscious confidence without actually like, earning it yet.
Let's talk about how you've been able to develop that subconscious, confidence. Before we started, you were telling me a little bit about kind of your highest moment and your lowest moment. So you went to college for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I actually graduated.
Okay, you did. Okay, all right. So, so why don't you tell us about like your highest moment and lowest moments as an investor? I think this will be good and it keeps it real with people.
Yeah. So I mean, probably my highest and lowest moment happened like within just a couple weeks. And sometimes that's just how it goes, right?
Yeah.
So actually, I was working at a job and I had a scholarship for school, and I was like my first year in school. So I was, started to pay it down. I was like, obviously, it's super important to me that I have this scholarship to pay for it, because I didn't come from a background where you're going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college and it's all paid for. Like, nope, got to do your part. So I was working there. And it was all right, but I got fired. And the reason why is because I was late to work, and I was late to work because I was trading all the other hours of the day. I was trading New York session, London session, Tokyo session, all the different hours of the day. And I, didn't make it to work on time. And from there, I lost my scholarship. But I went all into trading from that point on because I was already trading. And I even used to have a ceramic coating business as well. It did pretty well. So I had money to, go full into trading. And within the first, it was like a week to 10 days, I made a $34,000 trade. And I was like, okay, great. I just, paid for that whole entire scholarship. I was making way more, obviously, doing that than working at my job. So I thought I had it all figured out, got, super high confidence. And I went in, and within a couple of days, I lost all of it. Wow. And it was just from, thinking I was smart. So I, started to leverage way more than I really should have been. And I just over leveraged myself. Right. And that's a big thing where, you have to kind of go incrementally. You have to work your way up, know your place, but keep growing. Right. But yeah, if you over leverage yourself too much, too fast, you can burn up everything that you built. Wow. So that was like a moment where, I had great success, and then, I just kind of lost it all. But then it was good though, because it was a learning moment and a pivotal moment in my life where I was trading with my own money at the time, like around $20,000 to $50,000 account, but I wasn't making enough money to actually I wouldn't have been able to sustain my living or like all my expenses and really keep growing as a trader if I kept on that path. So it pushed me to look for, okay, how can I get access to more money? And I heard about the things called prop firms at the time. Before, when I heard about them, though, I wasn't old enough to actually trade with them. But now I was like, okay, I'm 18, I can trade with a prop firm, so I'm gonna give this a shot. So I went in, and they weren't as popular as they are now today. Like, most people were using their own capital. It wasn't really a well-known thing. There was maybe 1 or 2 prop firms that were online at the time. So I went in to trade with them, and that's kind of one of the pivotal points that I had that really it shaped my life. Because if I didn't have that big win and that big loss, I probably wouldn't have found prop firms and went all in on them. Right. And that's what, led me to getting 6 figures in capital, being able to then just have more leverage. And it's the same amount of work in trading.
Yeah.
Like whether you make 5% on a 100K account or $1 million account, it's the same amount of work.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, there's so many different lessons here. I think one of the first things that I kind of took from it is the fact that it took something that seemed like it was unfortunate in you losing your job / scholarship that allowed you to then just put a little bit more focus on the other thing that you're working with. And that little bit more focus yielded you your biggest ever trade of $34,000. And I think the next lesson I took from that is that, you still have to stick with your game plan and stick with the game plan that is going to work. And you got to play small ball.
Yeah.
And I think what you did is you started to feel yourself a little bit and you started to go for the home run all the time. And then you lost it. Right.
Yeah.
And so in entrepreneurship, at least my way, right? I'm not claiming to be the best one, but I've obviously done pretty decent, right?
Yep.
Is that I play small ball all the time, right? I'm a small ball guy. And it seems like you losing all that money
turned me into that.
It turned you into small ball. And small ball, you start to realize, wait a minute, if everybody plays small ball, could they win? And you're like, damn.
And they'd be a lot more consistent.
Right, And so that's what I teach people too. Like, how do you play small ball in business? You can win, right?
Yeah.
And so and then the last thing that I think I would take from it is that, you said it's no harder to trade on 100K as it is to trade on 1 million, And so, most people, unfortunately, they go out of business just because they just run out of funding and they don't give themselves enough time to allow the business to win, and like even you working with these prop firms now, you've given people truly a fighting chance to win. It's like, we're not like trying to save up $5,000 and trade off. Like, you're never going to be able to turn that into something. You got to have some leverage.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really love what you're doing, man. I really love, because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're like, I have a student who he did his first payout, and he was kind of a new trader. He was traded a little bit, just dabbled into it, but I know he just did 26,000 this month off of a 200K account. But before that, he had a $4,000 account. So he would have made what, $400?
$400,
and he would have had a $4,000 risk.
Right.
Where now he just has a 200K funded account that, because you have to pay to pass these evaluations. The evaluations cost a little bit of money. The tests cost money, but it's only a couple $100 usually.
Right. Yeah.
The risk just to make that much too, it's crazy.
So the same work, just on the 2K account, which would have yielded him $400. It's the same work on a $200,000 account.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the trade, right?
Yeah. And the only thing that changes, I think, when you're trading from a $100,000 account to $1 million account to $100 million account, whatever it is, the only thing that's really going to change is psychology.
It's just psychology.
So you're going to have psychology is a huge part of trading, but it's also a huge part of life. It's a huge part of business, working out, but it's a huge part of everything.
Yeah.
You need to have good psychology, good mental strength. And you need to be developed. I think you have to develop yourself. You have to develop your own psychology. You have to go through stuff.
Yeah. And there's a story in the Bible. It's the parable of the talents. I don't know if you know it, but basically, there was one servant that was given 1 talent, one that was given 2, and one that was given 5, right? And the servant that was given 5 ended up doubling it, right? And the one that was given 2 ended up doubling it. And then the master said, well done, good and faithful servant. And the one that was only given 1 didn't have the right psychology and did nothing with it, didn't even try, right?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And so basically that servant either that servant didn't have the skill set, okay, didn't take your course. They didn't have the skill set, or they had the skill set, but they didn't have the psychology to be able to invest the 1 talent. But the one that had 5 had not only the skill set to multiply the money, but had the psychology to say, yes, we're dealing with a bigger situation here, but it's still the same skills that I need to use.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, it's psychology with like, it comes out to stewardship. I'm very biblically based on how I try to just operate with people and operate in the entrepreneur world. It just comes down to much is given, much is required. And if you can't do much, then just don't ask for much.
Yeah.
That's really it. Just be okay with not having much and be okay with that life. But if you are going to ask for more, be willing
to do more
with the more that you have.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to sacrifice, and you got to be able to manage what it is that you're given. So if you're making a couple million a year, you got to be able to manage what comes with that. The people, the this, the that, the staff, and all this other stuff. If you're given hundreds of millions, you got to be able to manage that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you got to be okay with being a good steward. And so it sounds like that's important in your line of work. All right, this has been great. I've really enjoyed this conversation, man. And I hope those of you that are listening have gotten a lot out of this because I just see so many parallels. And yeah, man, I'm pretty impressed. You're 22. Damn. Need to make you mentor my kids. And, anyways, how can people find out about you and tell them where to go?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram is where I'm probably most active, just Luke_Holmstrom.
Okay.
And then also you can find us Funded Profits Trading on YouTube. And really, like, if you want to get in contact with me, that's probably the best place is just to go to our website, fundedprofitstradingacademy.com. And, just check us out. You'll find everything on there. But yeah, we'll help you, get access to 6-7 figures in capital. And also teach you the skill sets so you can use it the right way.
Awesome, man. I'm really impressed, really proud of you, and thanks for coming on. So y'all go check them out. All right, till next time.
That was easy.